Hello everybody, welcome to another Valheim video. Today is a new kind of live stream. I'm going to take a break from my playthrough to show you the actual development stuff that's going on. Because over the past couple days, I've changed a bunch of features. And I've been working on something I'm referring to as Enigma Mode 2.0. So for this, I changed how I'm recording here, so it might be a little bit confusing because one, you'll see the little chat screen you don't normally see, and also the actual screen itself will change every time I tab into a different window. This is going to be important because there's going to be a lot of this kind of thing, okay? Today we're doing a development stream. But I won't start with the text. Rather, what I'm going to do is show you a couple of the things that have already changed. And I'll show you a little bit about the actual development process itself and what that looks like. Because essentially what I do is I make a new seed, I look at the things that happen, and then I adjust the scripts to make sure that they work properly or that they're doing what I intend. Make sense? And here, for example, we have an issue. Some entry for Charred Fortress only placed 1 out of 30. Okay? That probably means that on this seed I just made, it's an outcome that is at the lower threshold. So I need to increase the amount. I need to adjust this Charred Fortress entry. Because if I see 0 or like 1 or 2, that's a problem. Unless it's something like Hilder's Crypts, having one of these, it's not a big deal. But these are not getting placed properly because of one of the major changes I've made to Enigma 2.0. And basically, I'm trying to get Valheim to be optimized for multiplayer. So part of that involves classifying all of the locations that have a lot of instances or produce a lot of combat, like where a boss might get summoned or there's a dungeon or you have like a Dverger tower. These have a lot of instances, or some of my custom locations like the Dverger Bank is like, 1,700 instances or something. So what I've done is group all of these together in their own category so I can separate them from each other. But in doing that, I messed things up. And some of the things don't get placed anymore, so I have to kind of rework them a little bit. So one of the things that stopped getting placed was the Morgan Caves, but actually not the ones in the Ashlands. So we're looking at the ones in the other biomes. Here we go. These are the ones that were getting skipped. So I don't need to classify these as heavy lag makers. The Morgan holes don't really have that many instances. They're kind of like the troll caves. But what we needed to look at actually was this one here, the Charred Fortress rule. Okay. It occurred after trying to place Bone Mass and then Dragon Queen and then the custom. So it was probably the first. Yeah, it was probably the first Charred Fortress entry here. Because it loads from the top of the file and then it goes down. So it starts by placing the start temple, then this, then this, then this, etc., etc. So what we're going to look for here is the first Charred Fortress. Yeah, so likely it failed to place the Charred Fortresses in the mountain, probably because by the time this entry runs, there's already mountain caves placed, if I remember right. Like if we look around, Goblin King, Dragon Queen. Oh no, there are no mountain caves. So what's blocking? Maybe it's the Dragon Queen thing. It's probably this. Because I made there be more of all of the boss temple things so that it's easier to find them because it's no map, no portal. So you need to have more of them. Otherwise, players struggle to actually locate them, right? So I can probably deal with this. I'll just adjust two things a little bit. We're going to make it so there's, let's go with like 12 motor mountain attempts. And then when we actually go to the charred fortress here, the entry that failed to place more is the first one. So it's probably when it's trying to place them in the mountain. So what we can do here is reduce this min distance here. But if we reduce this too much, then yeah, there's complications because the entries like bleed into other entries. And if this quantity gets met, then it'll fail the later ones. So for now, I'm just going to adjust that a little bit. And we want to see if it failed to place the other charred fortress entries. Oh, I paused it. There we go. Okay, so see how it said failed to place 5 out of 30? That's actually good. That's kind of what we're looking for. We want it to be like failed to place 5 out of 30, failed to place 12 out of 30, and then failed to place like 20 out of 30, something like that. Let's see. I think I paused the BEP log though, so let's, yeah, there we go. Now it's working again. Sometimes if you click on the BEP and X thing here, it stops, it like pauses the game essentially. So you can think that you're loading or waiting on something and it's not actually loaded. Yeah, here we go. So these ones are working. See, placed 5 out of 10 or out of 30. That means that we placed 4 of the charred fortresses. So this one's not, the second entry is not placing that many. So let's see what we're working with here. We reduce this. Now we want to find the second occurrence of the charred fortress, right? Which is going to be here in the plains. And so this is the one that it's fine if there's not that many of them. So having 5 plains charred fortresses. I mean, ideally, there's more like 7 or 8 across the whole world. I'd say this is fine, though. Yeah, for now, I'm just going to leave it like that. That's okay. We'll just assume that this particular seed is in a circumstance that didn't place that many of them. And then here we have another 0, right? But this is with an extra resource, an extra location, a diverger location, and it's a redundant location because the lighthouse is just another guard tower. So the fact that it didn't place any of these extra lighthouses doesn't really matter that much. So nothing to be concerned about yet. And I promise you this will actually get more interesting. It's just that when I generate the world for the first time, I have to look at the log to see like what it's doing while it's happening. Make sense? And then once it fully generates everything, then I actually am in the game world, and then you'll see the mechanics, and that'll be all flashy and more entertaining. But until then, I'm just doing the work that I needed to do anyway, to be honest. And hello, by the way. Welcome. Won't be as exciting necessarily, but also you can be certain I won't be ranting about random stuff because I'm occupied by what I normally want to do, right? So I'm trying to think, is there anything else I need to adjust in the location file? Probably the goblin camps. I can reduce their minimum distance from similar. Let's see, we have the ones in the plains at 600, and then the ones in the Black Forest at 300. We can reduce this. Let's do it to like 300, and then the other one from 600. We're gonna take this down to. They're gonna block these charred fortresses, so I guess we can take both of these numbers down. Yeah, and the charred forts in the Ashlands, 700 is a lot further than it needs to be. Probably 500 is fine. One loaded zone is like 300 or 280 or whatever it is. So if you're using more than 300, then generally things will be in separate loaded zones. And that's the main thing to do here. Ah, nice. We got a bunch more of these to verify. Bum, bum, bum. They're looking good. Yeah, not all of these even need to work, to be honest, because there's a lot of redundancy. Like there's things that get moved around, but they're not really that important. But in general, in Enigma 2.0, things are much more spread out. It's one of the ways you reduce the instances a lot. So once the world actually loads, and I slowed it down earlier by having it paused, I apologize. It normally doesn't take that long. But once the world actually loads, then we're going to be looking around, and I'm going to show the major changes to Enigma Mode 2.0, and it's really different. Like, I know, like, nobody's going to know about this, because this kind of live stream won't be that popular, I don't think. So whoever's listening now, you're going to be in the know, because I started it all boring, and I'm just showing text and saying it's about development. But once it gets all visual, it'll be a lot easier to follow. And a lot of things got reworked. The path system is changed now, so the design of the path itself is different, and also the directions it goes are different. It no longer goes north, south, east, west. Now it goes in different directions, so you can't really know where it's going to end up, because the starting temple is now no longer in the center of the world. And this is such a little change, but it is so perfect for Enigma Mode. And I'll show you exactly why that is in a moment, because we're about to wake up in the middle of the world and have the Enigma intro, right? The classic. So let's let that play out. It's a little bit different because I've already ran it. So normally this happens once you move the character, and then that happens. I also need to update that because it's not Enigma Mode 1.3.1. This is Enigma Mode 1.2. So far, everything's the same as what you've seen before. But pretty quickly, you'll notice some differences. So give me a moment here. Let me get my standards higher. Nice. Okay. Grab these things. I'm just turning on the Devcommands. All right. So we've reworked the start temple a little bit, and also all of the vegetation. I'm going to be keeping an eye out on the vegetation throughout the video. So if you notice something that you think is missing, or maybe something could be added, or you have an idea of something that you think looks really beautiful in Valheim, then let me know, because that's something that's going to need continuous reworks. An example of that is like, all right, getting rid of a bunch of stuff in the meadows, it felt a bit empty. But then Teensy recommended, why don't we add some of these heath rock pillars, these plains pillars. And so I added that, and I'm really happy with that. I like how it adds a little bit more variety. They're not as common as they are in the plains. So in the plains now, there's loads of them. But I really like little touches like that add something, so that we're not just getting rid of everything. It doesn't just feel empty. You get kind of distracted by like, oh, there's that pillar. And maybe that makes the player not notice that a bunch of stuff is removed, right? Additionally, you can see we reworked the design of the path itself. Each section used to be like 9 to 11 instances, and now each section is just 4 instances. So it's like 60% reduction in the instance count of the path. That helps because the paths can actually use a lot of instances, especially in the beginning. And so now we've got the center starting point down to 2,200 with all 4 paths produced. So that's much better. Before it was sometimes around like 4,000 or sometimes 5,000, which is just too much right in the beginning of the game, right? So we have our paths reworked. You see that. But it's not just that. There's actually angle changes. And if you haven't noticed, well, look at this. Okay. This is my favorite part of the new overhaul. This is actually a pretty tame starting spot, to be honest. It's almost in the center of the world. It's very close to the center of the world. So to be honest, this is making me wonder, maybe 1,000 meters away from the center isn't enough, because this is too This is too vanilla. Let me show you what I mean. Before, when I tested all the other seeds with the new system, they would start in places like this. Like you'd get a meadow with mountains, black forest, swamp, plains, all right there. Or you'd end up in like this meadow here, right there. And then there's plains, mountains, swamp, loads of stuff, right? So what I can tell immediately now is that I banned 1,000 meters from the center. If we look at the actual entry, if we go all the way up, you can see it right here. Start temple, and then min distance, 0.1. That means basically 10%, or 1,000 meters from the center. So this is valid, because the center is like over here somewhere. So it looks like I don't actually want 1,000 meters from the center. I want something more like 2,000 meters. Because Dakar made this joke, and oh my god, it really got to me. But basically, he was like, so basically, you're gonna take what they want, the meadows, and make it their end game. And I was like, yes, that is exactly it. So basically, the idea is that the player starts in a meadow, but it's like a more dangerous meadow, right? Like this one, for example, is right next to Black Forest, mountains, other things. And then if they want, they can travel back to the center of the world to find the central meadows, the paradise, the peace. You know what I mean? But I think this might really help spice things up, because it's really cool to actually see some of the other continents you can start on. So I'm actually going to change that entry. Let me measure this properly. I need to move this chat bar down a little bit. Let's see, based on this seed, we can see that pretty much the boring or the safe area, so to speak, is like this kind of circle here, right? Anything outside of this circle, there's little bits of meadows that can trigger the start temple spawn, so that'll be fine. And you'll get maximum biome diversity this way. So let's kind of gauge how far this range is, because currently we're too close for the effect to work. We're too close to the center, so this is basically the same as spawning in the center. So let's find the actual center spot. It looks like it is right here, essentially, yeah. This is the real center, and then let's go to an edge, would be like here, right? 2,500. Let's find another edge over here and look in the top right, 2,700. Then another edge where the swamp starts up here, 2,400. And then let's look down to see where the kind of safe area ends. I would say around here. And that's 2,400. So let's actually go with 2,500, aka 0.25. This should ensure that our start temple is always in a location like this, or like that, or such as this, or this. So it'll always be in a meadow. And I can make it so it's always in a deeper meadow, if that makes sense. It might already be set that way, yeah, median here. So it has to be a meadow that is next to a meadow that's bordering with another biome. So that should work. 2,500 will ensure we're not too much in the center. So, alright, we can save. We're good. I can move on. So now, this is all stuff. I'm basically stacking things for the next iteration, which I'll do again. And that's how I develop. I just reiterate over and 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 over again. And I'll like have a list or something, right? And then as I'm iterating or exploring, I'll add things to the list or adjust them. Sometimes it's better to just make the change, because if you think about it, like you only have a limited amount of time, right? And if it takes you the same amount of time to notate something as it does to just adjust it, you should probably just adjust it. You know what I'm saying? So here we're gonna go. I need a hammer so I can do this. Bum, bum, bum. We need no placement cost. Yeah, yeah. So this is all normal. It's different than what you're used to, because the path is redesigned, right? So you can see that it's like more see-through, not as blocky, less wide, but you can still carry a cart on it. And it still kind of stops you from, you know, just like running directly over it. Although if you go AFK like on a staircase or something, you can still run off, but I wasn't too worried about that. I was going for like as few instances as I can while still having it look like it's built with player build pieces. Because you're going to see later on, this is just one of the systems. There's a bunch of other systems. Hey, Fish, welcome, welcome. Good to see a familiar name here. Today I'm doing a development stream, so I'm going to show you all the World Serpent system and how it works. I'm pretty sure people are going to like it, because it basically... how do I put this? I implemented the World Serpent the way I wanted to, but then I realized that it's not that useful for the players. But then I realized how to give the players something that makes it incredibly useful. So basically the World Serpent, you'll see. But some of the changes that I'm working on now are all these end game things that are based on the notion of like building up in the heavens, and in a way where the player is encouraged to purchase the building supplies with coin piles that they've accumulated from the world below. That's the general idea, and this is going to be accomplished in two manners. One is these island systems that I haven't done as much work on. I'll show you the beginning of the islands later. But the other system is the World Serpent. And the World Serpent is ready. Like, it functions, it does everything it needs to. So that's why I'm excited to show it off. And then there's also another thing, the Enigma forking system. But I haven't developed those ones yet. So we'll see how they go. Welcome, Grok. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Hello, everybody. Good to see you all. I'm glad you invited your roommate. That's awesome. Yeah, game development is, I'd say it's something that's hard to get into, which is why Valheim EWP is so special, because Valheim EWP allows you to practice game development without having to learn a lot of really technical programming skills, but you still end up thinking like a scripter. You have to learn how to get comfortable learning how to script, and that is really, really useful for its own reasons. But then you get experience watching players, and to be honest, game design is more about understanding player psychology than anything else. Because if you don't understand like how people work and what they do, you're gonna have a hard time creating experiences that people engage with the way you expect. Does that make sense? So that's why I love EWP so much. It's just like such a cool system here. Like, I gotta stop for a moment and look at this. I love it when little things like this happen, right? Like we come across like an island like this, right? It's like the perfect spot for a base or something, and the path even like drops down a little bit. But now I can see kind of what Ping's talking about, right? Because let's say you want to access the ground. I now have to take a risk, right? I got to jump off, and then I won't be able to get back up to the path until I build again. You know what I mean? So I'm wondering, like, is that something I like? Or is that something I want to make convenient? You know what I mean? Because, like, I could make it so that wherever there's a skull, you know, if you build one coin pile, it'll make a staircase or whatever. But at the same time, it kind of adds this element of chance and risk of like where... Okay, there you go. You see what I'm saying? Like, this literally just answered what I was saying, because now I have access to the whole island because it just happened to stop here. You know what I mean? So I'm still not, I'm not convinced that I'm going to give players the ability to make their own staircases, to be honest. I could. I'm just not, I'm not sure about it yet, because I kind of like, I like the dynamic of there being the danger of leaving the path. And you have to think about, like, if you get off the path, you have to then get back on it, and that might be challenging. Personally, I've found that when it comes to the path, the things that slow the player down tend to work out well. Otherwise, people just kind of get all giddy and they run the path to the edge of the world and then they're done. So, probably I'll just leave it how it is for now, but we'll see. Could change, you know, everything's up for change. Now we can see this is going to make a mountain ravine. This has been another area that I'm renovating. Because the mountain ravines are, well, notoriously they made way too many instances. So I've been redoing them so that it doesn't make loads of instances. In general, see how the instance count is 1,000? I'm trying to keep it under 2,000, ideally under 1,000. But 2,000's okay if there's, like, you know, stuff nearby. And if there's something really interesting, like, you know, a charred fortress or whatever, it can be like 3,000, that's fine. And this, by the way, is something that... Oh, I wasn't in God mode. I died from falling. But there's a command you can use that just, like, clears the floor a little bit. And I found it easier to do it that way. Otherwise, I had to spend a lot of time, like, trying to rework things and get them to work exactly how I wanted across every possible seed type. It takes a lot of prototyping and testing and redoing things, and, like, even just running down the path once, like, developing a whole path takes a while. It's not a quick thing. So imagine if you do that like 100 times. So this is the command. You just use fixed terrain, and as long as you're near the Enigma path, it'll work. But sometimes this will happen, like nothing's gonna happen, right? That's because there's actually already one of these things right here, and it kind of has to be that way from the mountain. I haven't figured out how to do that properly, but you can fix it. You just do undo terrain, and then it will, like, make it all gnarly, and then you just do fixed terrain, and then there you go. Now it's fixed, right? A little bit too far there, but that's okay. Not too worried about it. So we can see already I've reduced a bunch of the stuff that spawns here. So it looks a little weird, right? Like the jagged part, that kind of thing. Right now there's probably too few things here. And like this thing, I can't do anything about this. This is just the inside of the mountain. It's just how it is. Once you run through it, it gets better. But so like parts like this looks fine to me. This is kind of like what I am imagining. I've been simplifying it, so it can still spawn all the stuff you guys have been used to, but it just doesn't do it as commonly or as frequently. That way, when we are looking at our instances, we can see, like, I'm in a mountain ravine right now, but there's only like 980 instances. There's not that many instances, right? So that's basically what I've been going through and doing that. Keep in mind, it's always going to be laggy while it generates the canyons, because it has to spawn all of these location proxies and do a bunch of stuff. So when it first generates the canyon, when it carves the canyon, it's gonna be slower, like your FPS is gonna go down. But once it finishes carving, then it'll be fine. So I'm not too worried about the frame rate at the moment. Mostly what I'm concerned about is this instance count. I want to make sure that I get the tunnel vibe from the canyon, but without getting, you know, like before it was like 5,000 instances, which is just too many for Valheim multiplayer. So now we're at 1,200, right? Way, way, way less. This is more acceptable. There's still like weirdness, you know, we get all that kind of stuff. I hid all of it before by spawning loads and loads of rocks. Whereas now it's like, it's more subtle, right? And eventually all the stuff falls into place and it all works out, but I'm feeling alright with it. Like, once you place things, I kind of like when there's these gaps and you can look up through it. It works out well. I prefer that than it being a full cave. It just, like, visually, sometimes it looks a bit weird, but I'm not too worried about that. I'd rather that it be a bit holy, but be less instances than it look more like a cave, but have too many instances. So there we go. Those are the ravines. Looking pretty good. And the path, it goes quite high above the ground once you leave the starting area. I think I'm okay with that because it adds like an element of danger. Oh, what am I doing? There we go. So I think I won't worry about that for now. Because they stop like 10 times. Well, okay. That's how it used to work, but now it's all different because the center spot changes. So your center start could be right here, in which case the path goes to the ashlands really quickly. So it all depends on like what you've been doing and what your intention is. I'm gonna stop a couple times just to kind of look around. I'm getting a sense for like how I feel about the vegetation rework. So far, I think I'm happy with the meadows and the plains. Like right now, we have a path built, like fully built, right? And we have 1,300 instances, pretty good. I mean, obviously in a perfect world, this would be like 900 right now, but given that the cave is over there in the distance, this whole path is stretched out, I'd say 1,300 is pretty good. Especially, base Valheim, like I've been surprised. I didn't used to pay that much attention to the instance count, but like in base Valheim, in a normal meadow forest, there's 7,000 instances. So it's like if I can get it so that even in like a high combat area, there's like 3,400. That should make a difference. Like it should actually make noticeable changes in the multiplayer performance. But it's one of those things where for it to really feel noticeable, I have to stack a lot of things together. I can't just try and fix performance by doing one thing. I have to do every possible thing I can. So mostly that's about figuring out how to reduce the instance counts. Like right now, less than 1,000, we're golden. Nothing to worry about here. Just keep looking around. We really want to make sure that we pay attention to the visual experience. A flying bone mole already? Nice. Oh, nice. Those things are so brutal. But we want to pay attention to the visual experience of things because this is like the bigger part for the player. Swamp definitely looks like a swamp. It's got that vibe. The plains, I feel pretty happy with, to be honest. Yeah, here we are. We're right above a goblin tower. Maybe it is best that the path is high up, right? 1,300. 1,200. Not bad, not bad. So you can see that the plains has way more of these than it normally does. Generally, the plains has these rock spires, but kind of in like certain spots, right? Oh, we found one of the plains fortresses. There we go. Yeah, the charred forts are brutal now. So I made them more reactive, so they kind of like, oh. What a funny, you know, it's funny. Ping tested some things earlier, and it spawned like 3 staircases in a row in the middle of the ocean for him, which is obviously not good, right? But then like when I do it, it like does the staircase in all of my most interesting spots. Like, it's pretty funny. It's just how RNG is, though. Sometimes you get really screwed, and it's easy to think that it's like always going to be that way, but it's not. Nice. I also made some other changes. I wanted to make the path making loud so that it attracts monsters, and as you can see, definitely attracting some monsters here. They'll go up that staircase. That's pretty funny. Did a whole bunch of reworks to the charred forts, but that was a while ago. I still haven't finished the... I want to make it so like the charred fort, if you're near one, it can like send a raiding party to come attack you, but I haven't actually done that myself yet. I'm not sure how to go about doing it, but I love the idea that like they know you're there and they're not just gonna chill, because like the forts, one of the reasons that they feel kind of lame is because if you just like leave the fort alone, I mean, you can even like kill all the stuff on the outside of it. You can start fighting it, and as long as you kill everything that can pathfind to you, then there can be a bunch of monsters in the fort, and they just kind of like chill there walking around, and they can't get to you, you know what I mean? So it would be really funny if the charred fort like knew you were nearby and would like spawn an attack party to come and get you that's outside of the walls, you know what I mean? So I'm definitely gonna add that at some point. I'm just not sure when to do it. Here's our swamp rework. All of the biomes have been reworked. Hey, let's test this out. Actually, I was wondering if this would work, but I added I added burial chambers to swamps, and I wanted to see like, does it function? Looks fine. I got bitten by a scurvy bat. That's funny. Oh yeah, I updated these. They actually work now. People are gonna have a new thing to hate. Hey, calm down, Droger. Calm down. Brutal. It's like, this is a crypt, not a sunken crypt, but it definitely appears as a sunken crypt, right? And the reason I did that is because the burial chambers themselves are a really good source of Surtling core in Enigma mode. And when you're in more dangerous biomes, it can be nice to have a normal burial chamber nearby that you can get building supplies from. So I put some burial chambers in other, like, kind of relevant biomes, if that makes sense. So in Enigma, you can find burial chambers sometimes in the swamp. So the swamp isn't just sunken crypts, it's also some burial chambers. But then also in the meadows themselves, you can find burial chambers. I just figured may as well just add it to the meadows as a dungeon. I don't know, I'll have to look at the spacing for that, but let's see actually. Locations, list, crypt. What is it, crypt 4 maybe? Locations, list, crypt 4, yeah. And then I think biomes, meadows. Let's see how many of them actually spawned. Oh, only 2, 4, 6, only 7. All right, let's see. What about the earlier ones? Nothing. Yeah, only 7 in the meadows. That's like nothing. Let's see actually. Crypt 2. Okay, crypt 3. Ah, I see. That's because I only included this one in this entry here. Okay, I get it. So I guess what I can do... Yeah, here. I can add meadows to this entry right there. And we're going to make it so there's a min distance here, just so that there is at least a central meadow that's more safe, so to speak. Actually, nah, it doesn't matter. Who cares? It's not important. Hey, there we go. There's a Yag spawner. So this is the kind of thing that needs to happen. The player, just by making a path needs to find different boss spawners because there's so many of them in the world. So that's another thing I need to test. Like each time I'm on a new seed, I need to list the number of boss temples, right? So, okay, loads of Eikthyr temples. That's good. That's good. But what about the Elder, right? GD King. Yep, plenty of those. Okay, what about Bone Mass? Plenty of those. All right, what about Motor, Dragon Queen? Plenty of them. Yep. What about Yag? Yag loaded. Goblin King. That's right. Goblin King. Good. Those are good. And then Infested Mine. No, what is it? Boss Entrance. Queen Boss. There we go. That one's also good. And then we need Fader's location as well. Fader location. Boom. All right. Nice. We even got some of the extra ones in the plains. Awesome. That's fine. That means all the bosses are accessible. Just for reference, there's normally like 3 or 5 in each world. So as you just saw, there's like 10 to 15 in Enigma world. So that takes up some space. Means there's less room for dungeons and other things. But it means that you can find the boss chests so that you can do progression. So I think probably that is important. Let's clear the weather here a little bit. I try not to always use the cleared environments because it's important to kind of have a sense for what the player will see. Because if you always use TOD4 and cleared environments, then you yourself don't notice what the player notices. Make sense? I like the Black Forest. But I feel like the floor, the ground level of the Black Forest, I don't know. It feels like it's missing something, but every time I put something there, it feels unnecessary. So like there's something to give it some character or maybe something to distract that's missing, but I don't know, to be honest. Like here we have 1,500 instances. Pretty good spot. Now, we'll keep going though. Let's go to the Mistlands. This will be an interesting test because I had to rework some things to make it so that the Mistlands looks good from the path and doesn't get blocked constantly because I made all the vegetation bigger, right? And that means that it's more likely to block the path. So I basically made a system that replaces certain things with other things, and it ended up working out really well. I mean, I don't know, I'm happy with it. But you can tell like there was a spire here and now it's gone. It turned into a normal rock or something. So now that tree's just floating there. Eventually it'll come back to the ground, but sometimes that kind of thing takes a while. Let's see, this is a good spot to check instances. Yeah, 2,300. That's like as high as I want it to get. So whenever I see that it's that high, I want to make sure that I do objects, count, and then zone max distance 2. Probably what we're going to see is it's like a diverger location. So there's going to be a lot of black marble pieces. And that's going to be where most of those instances come from. So we have, let's see. These are all normal. We're looking for things in their hundreds. So there's the 121 iron floors. That's part of the path. It's fine. We've got 124 Mistlands cliffs. That's also alright. That's like the major identity of the Mistlands. And here we have, yeah, a bunch of black marble pieces. Floor, slope, inverted stair. Okay, so this means essentially... Okay, we got a couple things going on here. I would guess there's a diverger location and a mountain frost cave, and that's why we have around 2,400 instances. As long as those locations are what's causing those instances, that's perfectly fine. Because that means it's 2,400, but after it has interesting stuff in it already. So let's see. We're going to do locations list, zone, max distance equals 2. We should see a mountain cave and a lighthouse. Boom. Look at that. That's where all our instances are from. Alright, that's acceptable. Let's do some of this again. Fix terrain. Nice. Hey, that one worked well. I like it when suddenly you just see boom. Look at this. Sometimes these caves are like super on point. Like they make situations that genuinely just look cool. You know? I personally, I like it when it's like a cave, but then it has other parts where there's like gaps and you can see the sky. That's my favorite personally. And again, the lag is just because it's generating. This version works much better. So once it finishes the ravine, it's much smoother. Yeah, and there's always going to be these things. When you're like playing Valheim, you know how when you're sailing, you see the silhouette of the mountain far away? That's actually this thing. So now because we're inside of the mountain, we can see the thing we're not supposed to see. And that's why you can just walk through it. And then if we turn around, it's not there anymore. Because you're never... When would you ever see a mountain from inside the mountain, right? So it doesn't bother rendering it. I just think that's amusing. There's nothing I can do about that either. I used to think you could build something right where the seam is, but it turns out the seam itself actually changes based on, like, the client. So that doesn't even work. Because the place, the distance changes, right? Nice. See, I like when there's variety. You know what I mean? So like here, this looks like a frozen part of the cave. It's not like the whole cave looks exactly the same, right? But it does appear the left side seems to get more ice than the right side. You know what I mean? And maybe that's fine. I'm not too fussed about it. But just something to think about here. What are we at? 1500. Hey, that's really good, to be honest. This is the most problematic area currently in Enigma mode. What's going on there? That looks like a stone golem waking up or something. Oh, yep, stone golem. All right. That's funny. All right. Dang, this is a big ravine. Is this another one of these things? Yeah, we can run through it, right? Yep. It's funny. All right, let's see. So let's actually look at the map here. This ravine is bigger than I thought it would be. Ah, I see. Yeah, that's quite a hefty mountain. That makes sense. Yeah, but these are the kind of biomes that, like, I know I've ranted a lot about the beginning start temple, but I already tested a couple seeds, and it's really interesting. It makes me wonder, like, what if people didn't start surrounded by meadows and black forest? Like, maybe that's why people tend to stop by the swamp. Maybe all that we need to do is just make it so that they're closer to all the biomes. Make sense? So that they can kind of just pick the one they feel interested in more easily. They can explore it, right? I don't really know. Hey, hello, Dead Rogues. Welcome. The Divine Spiral. Yeah, exactly. Exactly. It definitely feels that way. Just wait until you see the World Serpent. The World Serpent part's really cool. I feel pretty proud about the World Serpent. Heyo, look at that. Got a nice silver node there. The ravines actually, it should be fine. I'm actually gonna wait. I'm gonna wait for it to finish generation here. And then I'm gonna run back a bit, because once it's finished and everything's like dropped to the ground, it should be really, yeah, like I should be able to run through it with a solid frame rate without any problems. It should stay around 60. Yeah, like how it is right now. I just have to make sure all the generation's done. Yeah, now let's see what the ravine looks like. We're looking at, alright, we're at 1200 instances. That's perfectly fine. Hey, that looks pretty good for a sheer cliff, to be honest. For me, that kind of stuff looks a bit weird, but when there's like an asset at the edge of it, it works out well. And I don't want full coverage. I want something that builders can look up in and be like, I want to build a house up there. You know what I mean? The thing is, before there were too many instances, so there were too many rocks, it was too laggy, especially if something exploded. Whereas now, we're at 1300 instances in the middle of the ravine. So, I think it'll be alright. And I got rid of all those complicated systems that were like looking at where the player steps to try and pave it. Now, as you can see, there is no paving. It's just snow, right? Looks fine, I would say. I'm happy with this. I had just adjusted it, so that's why I'm looking back. Because the ravine script is really complicated. It's kind of hard to know exactly how the adjustments will play out. But I'm happy with this. It looks like there's enough variety with the roof pieces. And we still get the occasional point of interest, right? Like there's a silver node right here. Like within the ravine, right? Then there's also some other random things we can find. Because I wanted to make it so they are useful. They're like a special place, right? But in doing that before, we had a bunch of problems. It was too laggy. There were like 6,000 instances. It was super laggy because there were loads of frack pieces. So now there's like 80% less rocks. That's the secret. But I'm happy with that. We're going to move on to mistlands. The main thing here while we're running the path is to make sure that these big rock spires that we see don't block the path, but also that they don't get removed completely, because they're really an important part of the look of the mistlands. The mistlands gets its look from these pointy rocks. The mist can play a role, but it doesn't need to be everywhere. And I actually have been increasing the chance of the mist because I prefer it when there's a little bit of mist. Hey, that worked well. You see how it got rid of all those rocks? It looks like it's set up properly now. We want to be able to see Mistlands rocks, but not have them completely block the path. That's the ideal. And good morning, teens, by the way. Welcome, welcome. Glad to see you. So far, I'm happy with this. I'm thinking maybe there's still a little bit too little mist. Because I feel like the Mistlands, they need like some mist sometimes. Having all of it gone, I don't really like. And I keep just barely adjusting it up a little bit. Because I don't want there to be like actually mist in the Mistlands. just a wee bit, you know, a little bit. So let's adjust it again, actually. Let's see, we need to go to let's save our locations file. Now go to mist area. All right, we have a maximum 20% chance per zone. Let's change it. So we're going to do less of the edge and then a teeny bit, just a teeny bit more chance for... Yeah, a teeny bit more chance for the mist. There we go. But aside from that, honestly, it looks pretty good. I'm happy with it. Especially because, like, we're still under 2K instances. So, like, alright, right now, we're at 1,800. There is almost a full staircase, though. So a lot of that is probably the staircase. And the staircases, they pretty much have to be more instances. I'm not really that worried about it. I could have made a design that had less, But then you end up with like a skinnier staircase and you can't take a cart up it as easily. So I try and make sure that there's just enough room for a cart, but not extra. Make sense? Because the path actually started out this width, but then I increased it because I thought players wanted to like run next to each other and appreciated the width. And I think that's true, but that doubles the instance count of the path. So not too great in that department. How's this looking? We got a cool little stretch of Black Forest. All right, some mistlands. Looking good. 1,000 instances. Like, that's what I want to see. Definitely. That's good. I want to be able to look at Valheim and be like, hey, it still looks pretty. It still looks like Valheim. Maybe it's not perfect. You know, it's not the most beautiful form of itself. But it's pretty. You know what I mean? I do get that vibe from the Black Forest. That there's like something missing. Something little that we can just add. Not necessarily a little object, but a little change. Maybe it's not even originally from the Black Forest. You know, it's from somewhere else. I'm not sure how to make that work, but I do love how the loading distance of items is actually tied to their scale. So when you increase the size of items, you also increase how far away they load. That's why you can see these spikes from like further away sometimes. It's pretty interesting. That worked out in my favor. It actually works out against you in other situations, because if you take an asset that has that scaling issue and then you scale it down, then like you walk 10 feet away and it vanishes. It's funny. Let's see. So Teen says you could have something similar to Odin shrouding the player for the mist. Yeah, well, so in this case, I don't actually want the player to be in the mist. It's more like the visual. Like, I can just show you. Okay. Let's take a look here. So let's take these mistlands, for example. Give it a moment so it can clear through everything. Okay, like for me, I like this. But if everything is this open, it does feel like something's missing. So for me, I prefer it more like that. You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't want there to be a lot of mist. But I do want there to be, you know, like an actual, you see the mist, you know what I mean? There are certain areas with it. So, but I gotta say though, I love how open it is in the mistlands. Definitely, it's really interesting how all you have to do is remove a lot of the rocks and you get way more of these open areas that you can fight in, right? These like big empty fields. I think in some ways Valheim is missing these things, because that's something I learned about in the game Breath of the Wild. Breath of the Wild is a game that does a really good job of creating like a sense of exploration. Some of the mechanics are pretty repetitive, like Korok seeds, for example. I don't like having a gimmick that you reuse over and over and over everywhere. Personally, I find that distasteful. But Breath of the Wild is a really beautiful game and it's fun to explore. One of the reasons that game is fun to explore is because it has a lot of these open, empty places. Make sense? And that helps make the areas that aren't open feel like they have a contrast. And that's something that modern games are really bad at. They're really bad at managing negative space and the contrasts for things. But there we go. Okay, here's what I'm trying to get at. Like, look at this area. You see? Like, there we go. That compared to that. I think maybe it's good enough now, to be honest. Because there's some mist over there. There's some there. I think it's probably fine. I just want to make sure that, like, there is mist, and from time to time, it's a little bit inconvenient. You know what I mean? I see what you mean, though, about the mist moving around. I've also thought about that in the past, to be honest. Like, if the mist was just in different places, like, sometimes, you know, it would be in your base, but then you play the next day and it's gone, and it was just there for a day or whatever. But for now, I'm not really too concerned about it, to be honest. I think that people in general, like, the Mistlands is really beautiful. And Iron Gate has a way of kind of covering up their beautiful work. So my mentality now is like, how do I identify the insecurities that caused Iron Gate to cover things up and uncover them and re-bring them out, you know what I mean? And it's not even necessarily insecurities. Sometimes it's just they get really hung up on certain things. Like, in their heads, the Mistlands is the Mistlands, so it has to have a lot of mist because it has the word mist in the name. And it's like, I don't know, mist is a pain in the ass. Like, I don't think it really matters that much. You know what I mean? But I understand the temptation. I mean, the same thing happened to me with you all. You were like, I was trying to make the Ashlands harder to get into, surround it in an impenetrable wall. And like, that's when I like realized, I was like, this is exactly what Iron Gate does that players hate. So I was just like, fuck it. And I completely stopped that idea. So, yeah, this isn't gonna go to the Ashlands. But there's no more, like, wall, but I already showed that off in the previous one, so. Mainly what I was looking for here is to make sure that none of these giant cliffs block the path. And it seems fine. Like, this is solid so far. Oh, I got bit. I fixed the scurvy bats. You'll see what that means in a second. People are gonna hate that. I found out that there are actually, like, a couple recurring monster types that threaten you while you're on the path. So there's vultures, there's these scurvy bats, which I did not intend to be so terrifying. Because in my head, the players find the scurvy bats when they're sailing, but that doesn't actually happen. Instead, the players find the scurvy bats while they're on the path, right? So, oh, that's gonna be fun. So Teen says, much prefer your version of Valheim. It looks better and much more enjoyable to move around in. Hey, that's awesome. We can keep making it look better. So have you noticed a couple things? Like, you see all these Leviathans? Hey, and there we go. There's another thing. So this is one of the other things I want to show you. This is the beginning of the floating islands script. Except, basically, Ashenius, who's somebody in the Valheim World Editing Discord group, he's done this incredible island generator. So it basically makes these RNG islands that have a bunch of different things that can show up. So, like, you could think this is the one island, but each island looks a little bit different, and sometimes they have different, like, little rewards and little chests and different things you can find, you know what I mean? Like, there was a treasure chest there, but that skeleton yeeted it. You can see one up here, right? And so I've made these things, but there's too many of these spawning as well, as you can see. So that's kind of clashing a little bit. But here's another one of the islands. And these are just as Ashenius has them. So I changed it a little bit just to get rid of, because this is vanilla friendly. So the actual island pack has some changes to some things that require a mod pack. So I didn't use those. That like adds music and does that kind of thing. But here you see, he's made some cool little caves. He did some really cool stuff. And what I was gonna do is I was actually gonna take his island pack and then strip it and use it as the base of something else. But I really love his islands. So instead what I'm going to do is I'm going to do both. His islands are in the Enigma mode, and I got his permission, by the way, so he knows about this. So they're just in Enigma mode as is. These are the Ashenius Islands, and you'll be able to find them. And they aren't connected to the other thing. So this way, I use the base for what I wanted, and I use his original islands. So it adds some more life to the ocean, because now you can find these kind of things. There's too many Leviathans at the moment. What I'm going for with the Leviathans is like, the closer you get to the edge of the world, the more Leviathans. And then once you get to like the extreme edge of the world, it's like all Leviathans. Just loads and loads of Leviathans. I think that'll make it more interesting. Because it makes the edge of the world like more accessible. If that makes sense. But let's check out another one of these. I saw one off in the distance somewhere. Where was it? Oh, yeah, it was right here. Oh, no, I was at the one off in the distance. Yeah, okay. So you can find them by those rocks there, right? Yeah. The Ashenius' islands are crazy, to be honest. Like, maybe for a normal player, you don't realize how special they are. But when you actually try and, like, make islands using the location proxies and getting them to look like that takes a lot of practice, and he really did a great job of making the islands have the sand and all that. Like, for me, I tried to make islands for a while, and like, you have to make all this underwater stuff happen perfectly for the top part to actually look like an island. So as soon as I saw Ashenius's pack, I was like, wow, I should just ask him if I can use that instead of trying to do it worse myself. So those are a thing. But the project that I'm going to use them for, the separate thing, I'm not going to talk about that too much. Because it's better to just show you the things I've actually been working on that I can show, like, for real, right? You know, these Leviathans are having an issue that I don't really understand. So if we go to our vegetation YAML, we can search for Leviathan. So we see these are the only two entries, right? Leviathan in the ocean, Leviathan in the ocean. But for some reason, yeah, it's like it's getting fused, basically. The entry is getting fused. So what I was trying to do is have it so the Leviathans at the edge of the world form these groups like this. So it makes like a big cluster. So you can get more of them, and when one sinks, you still have more time to mine the other ones. Because the player asked for like a way to get a bunch of shitten. And I figured, well, sailing should be how you get a lot of shitten, right? So I need to make it more interesting. But I haven't figured out how to balance these properly, to be honest. So that needs more work. What's happening now is this is the group size, but they're really close to each other, so they're like clipping into themselves, right? And so here we have a minimum group size of 2 and a maximum of 5. And the group radius is like 70, but I guess it needs to be more like 120 or something really big. I don't even know if it can be further than one zone, to be honest. I'm not sure that actually spawns, but that's alright. And like, I tried to separate the two entries here, but it like, when you work with these entries, you'll realize that like some things stay separated, but other fields are like fused, sort of. So it can be pretty confusing. In this case, what I need to do is I need to make like a clone of the Leviathan so that it is actually separated and it doesn't fuse the rules together. Because basically what it's doing here is it's making the rules for the edge, but we're not at the edge of the world yet, so that shouldn't be happening. It's fine though. All good. Basically, what happens now is the World Serpent event. So the World Serpent is a path that goes around the entire world. Okay? Now, obviously, you can immediately imagine some problems with that. So when I get back, I'm just gonna go to the bathroom real quick. I need to pee. When I get back, I'll talk more about exactly what the World Serpent is and how it's gonna play into base building and the end game biome experience, specifically building bases in the Mistlands, the Ashlands, and the Deep North. It's also going to give a method of teleporting, and I'll explain that. This is actually something that normally I wouldn't implement, but because of coincidence, the way the World Serpent is designed, I can implement it and give the players a way to teleport that doesn't break the no map, no portal situation. So you'll see what that is when I get back. I'm pretty sure you're all really gonna like the World Serpent, to be honest. At first I was like, this is too much running. But then I realized I could eliminate the running. So I'm pretty sure you'll all love it. But I'll be right back. I am back. I managed to not pull up the path going AFK. Lucky. Alright, at this point I should get rid of my end clear. The Mistlands and the Ashlands look way different, so when you look at it in end clear, it gives you like this weird sense, and you forget how dark it is for the players. Oh, and that's a good point, teens. Hey, here we go. This is the kind of problem I was trying to deal with earlier. Ah, I see. It's too... Maybe it's too high up? It should show up in like a couple seconds. Unless I change the timer back to 5 minutes, which I may have. Oh no, it probably just respawned, but as the small size version of itself. Yeah, interesting. So what happened there? Why did that rock... Do I need to increase the height? Let's look at this real quick. I need to go to Enigma Mode, and then I need to go to the remover. Is it just remover? Post path removers. No, I want a pre-remover. Here we go. This. No, this isn't it. Nope, nope. Nope. Alright, it's not called a remover. I've got to make an easier way to find this thing. I always end up searching for it for a while. But basically, the path makes itself, and as it's making itself, which is all the way up here, there we go, it does these things here, each step, and it looks for things to destroy. Makes sense? So here, if something's this far away, it destroys it. If something's this, it gets rid of it, right? So we can see that there's some cliff swapping, which essentially didn't happen to that piece for some reason. Or maybe it did? Curious. Curious. Was it this? Or was it... I think it already existed. Yeah, because Cliff Mislin's one is not this. That's Cliff Mislin's one, that pointy thing. These things, I believe, are Cliff Mislin's two. Yeah, exactly. Wait, what? Is there... Am I inside of a... Am I, like, inside of one? Why does it think there's one right there? It's weird. If I look right here, it sees one. I guess it's just looking through the terrain. Yeah, okay. I get it. So, basically, there was a Cliff Mislin's 2 that was too close to the path. So, essentially, I have to make sure that things are getting destroyed if they are that close. So let's see. These are the destroyers. We have the location destroyer. We have this. There's some more destroyers. This is the brute destroyer. And then we have the large destroyer here. And this, if we look through it, these... Yeah, here we go. Cliff Mislin's 2. Okay, so this handles the one we were just looking at. But the distance of 26 is probably not far enough. So what we're going to do is we're going to change the distance. Instead of 26, it's going to be 34. And instead of a max height of 40, it's going to be a max height of, let's go with 50. Okay? And then that is probably good enough to fix that situation we just encountered. So now let's get back to our path running. Look at this. We've gotten so lucky with the locations of the staircases, right? They've been at a point of interest every time so far. It's amusing. Calm down, Seekers. Calm down. Alright, what are we at? Nice. Point of interest, 2,000. I just killed everything, so that would have made a lot of item drops. Solid, though. Definitely solid. Alright, one second. Let me make sure I actually saved the change here. Nice. Okay. It's definitely coming along. To be honest, I thought it would take me months to make more progress on these features for some reason, but over the past 3 or 4 days, like, most of this has happened. I just, like, have been working on it a lot. I've been responsible, though. I'm caught up on YouTube, so I've been making tutorials and doing the live streams. I'm happy about it. That's basically what I need to do. Like, I need to not be super focused on the live streaming, but still do it. So I'm available and people can ask questions and I show what I'm doing, but not lose my tutorial momentum. Make sense? And before, I felt like too focused on the live streams. It was hard not to be. Before that, I was too focused on the development. I'm often too focused on the development, to be honest. But now it's been easier. I've had more momentum with making tutorials, and I did all the tutorials that I was procrastinating. And normally, once that happens, then I'm set. Golden. Yeah, more Leviathans. Loads of Leviathans. There's definitely too many of them for now, but I'm not sure how I want to make that work. I guess I could just get rid of the idea of making players sail to the edge of the world. There could just be more Leviathans in general. I could just get rid of this whole entry. Oh, brutal. Did you see that? That poor Verger. Died so brutally. Let's see, what's our last continent here? It looks like we're going to go right to the edge. And now something new is going to happen once we get to the end of the Enigma path. I know I may have talked to you all about the world level system before. And I had this kind of vision in my head of once people complete an Enigma world. If that makes sense. Hey! That's funny, I didn't know that could spawn. Ha! I had this vision of, like, once people complete a whole branch, like the whole world, they do every Enigma path, then something will happen. But I realized that that's actually very problematic in single player, and even on a server, I have playtesting results from 2 other servers that played Enigma without, like, me managing it, right? Someone else was managing it. And those 2 community servers, and this is, okay, there are other servers I know about who are played on by groups of friends. Like, for example, Rose and Reaper who play on this server. They also have their own server they play on sometimes. I'm not talking about that kind of situation. I'm talking about a situation where a community server was started in Enigma mode, and then people joined who didn't know about Enigma mode, like, publicly. Does that make sense? Or part of a group or whatever. And that happened twice, and I learned from that experience that both of those servers, they completed about 40% of the total path before the server, the player group lost interest organically. Make sense? So that means, basically, if I gate a feature behind full world completion of path, it's not going to get used, basically. So instead, this feature, the World Serpent, is something that happens on the first path to meet the edge of the world. And you'll see what you'll see what goes on, but nice spot. Sometimes the spots really do shine. Like, I definitely love all the biome adversity, like being able to see Mistlands off in the distance and Black Forest. Like right now, 2,400 instances. Pretty good. Are we near a bank? Is that why? Let's see. List, zone, max distance. We have a wood village, a Grey Dwarf camp, a ruin, and a troll cave. What about 3? Interesting, interesting. Okay. Not so bad. 2,500, I mean, I'd rather not it be that high, you know, under 2,000 is better. In this case, though, we're next to a Slayer Tower and also a wood village. So maybe it's alright. Maybe. We'll see. We shall see. And now I should almost be at the end. There we go. Just ran this whole way. Just wait till you see the World Serpent. You're gonna get a kick out of it. The car helped me make, well, he made the head for me. I like told him the pieces that the body was made of and then how big they are, and he made this really awesome head. And then all I did is I just adjusted the eyes of the World Serpent a little bit. So, yeah, what my original idea with the Leviathans was that they spawn like in these areas close to the edge of the world, and there's just loads and loads and loads and loads and loads of them. But I think I'm just gonna make it so we're just gonna get rid of this extra entry for the Leviathan, and it's gonna have the bigger maximum, like 0.3. This means that there's a 30% chance in each zone for there to be 1 Leviathan, basically. That's how I understand it. I don't know if that's actually true, but that seems to be how it works. This part, though, we don't want them to only be 9,500 away. Oh, no wonder. Wait a second. I probably don't need to get rid of it. Should be able to... get rid of the removal? Why is it not letting me? There we go. Nice. Okay. Here we are. So you see what I did here? Max distance 9,500. That's not how max distance works. Not in this file, at least. In this file, it's 0 to 1. So let's find an example that has it in the right format here. Yeah, if we look for vegetations, what vegetations have a limit on there? At least I think it's like the location file. Let me verify. I guess I can just search for it. Max distance. 1. This is the only entry. Well, that would explain why it's all messed up now. Let's see, is there also a min distance somewhere else? Yeah, okay. Here we go. See, this is the format it's supposed to be in, and I'm messing it up. So let's actually, maybe I can have it the way that I want. I just need to have it in the right format. It's not 9,500, it's 0.95. There we go. So now we have a maximum and a minimum that should separate the two entries. I think that's why it wasn't working before. Let's save that. And now in theory, there will be leviathans, a 10% chance per ocean tile, but not in groups until you get to the edge of the world, and then you can find these big groups of leviathans. So that means we can reduce this a little bit. That should now work properly, but it's not going to apply until we go to a new loaded area, so probably I won't see anything here. Unless, like, the whole horizon just fills with these leviathans, because that would mean that it does work how I originally imagined. But essentially what's going to happen is in Enigma Mode 2, when the player, the first Enigma path reaches the end of the world, it used to do some things that didn't really hold much benefit for the player. Like, kind of cool as a novelty, but not in reality. Make sense? So now I reworked it, and it was like, alright, how can this be useful? So you're about to see exactly how that's going to go down. Hey! Is it... Wait, now it's working? It's leviathans everywhere on the edge of the world? That's exactly what I was trying to do. And so what Teens was trying to say earlier is that in Enigma you can build on those rocks, right? Look at all these. I was kind of figuring in my head, well, all that can happen if the player gets to the edge of the world is they die from falling off the edge, right? So what if there's stuff that's there so they're less likely to fall off, right? Alright, here we go. Now what's happening? You see this? What's this? What's that? Don't worry, this won't happen to your map. This is just for development. I won't put thousands of pins on your map. We just look. What's happening? What's happening? Aha, there it is. Off in the distance, we can see it. So, basically, there is now a world serpent. And if we wait a little bit, we look off in that direction. It takes like 60 seconds. Actually, I think it's like 30 seconds, something like that. Let's wait a little bit. Boom, there we go. Okay, it says the world serpent has bitten its tail. So there we go. We now have this huge path that was generated across the entire world. And before I actually go up on it, I want to give you a little bit of context on what the idea here is. Valheim is a game that has a lot of fun base building. So there is a lot of appeal to building a really big epic end game base, or an Ashlands base, or a Deep North base. But then the reality of doing so is highly problematic. One, the biomes themselves don't give you the safety to do so. And two, there's a lot of combat and it's the end game stuff. So it's very problematic if you make a big base. Like, now you need to have a barrier and a separation between you and the enemies, and in the Ashlands, they're always going to be coming to you, right? So that's not going to happen. So what if there was a path that went all the way around the world and was a couple 100 meters up in the air, so that you can be near the coastlines of the end game biomes, such as the Ashlands and the Mistlands, and even sometimes Black Forest and Mountain. But then if you look at Deep North, it gives you like loads of access to the Deep North, right? You can see how this path just has lots of points where it goes right past the Deep North, right? In a way where, I mean, sometimes it even like goes through the center. I didn't mean for that to happen. What I'm going for is this. A big path that's on the back of the continent, and you'll see why in a moment. But now you know the context. The goal is to give players a way to build really big bases that are very close to the most intense parts of the game, without those big bases messing everything up in the actual parts of the game on the ground level. Make sense? So here's what happens. You get to the end, the World Serpent gets created, and then obviously you're going to want to go towards the portal, right? And as you get close to the portal, boom, look where you end up. You end up on a new thing called the World Serpent. This is an enormous path that isn't meant to be a path. It's meant for you to build things on. And because in Enigma mode, when you play it a lot, you end up with loads and loads and loads of coins in this bank account. So when you purchase things here, you get double or maybe triple, I haven't figured it out yet, of your purchase. Make sense? So basically, players who have lots of coins will be able to use this essentially limitless area that has almost 0 instances. Like, it looks huge, right? But this is 97, 116. We're in essentially 0 instance territory. You see what I mean? So they'll be able to use this like a platform to then build anything they want in a way where it's really far away from the actual land and other issues. So even if you make a 30,000 instance loaded zone over here, it won't really matter unless you're like in this area, and then it just impacts the back end of the biome. It's not going to impact this area, right? But I can already hear you. Like, you really think people are going to run this entire path? Do you realize how long it is? I feel you. I feel you. But don't worry. Watch this. Watch this. Let's get ourselves a cart. Let's put some stuff in our cart. You know, because it's our special cart. Now, the World Serpent allows you to teleport anywhere along the World Serpent in 8 different sections. So you won't have the map, obviously, because I only have it because I'm developing. But you won't need it, because all you have to do is be near the World Serpent, and then you can just do this. You go ride, and then ride is like the keyword, basically, to teleport along the World Serpent. And you can now teleport to any of the other 8 sections of the World Serpent. So there's north, south, east, west, northwest, east, west, etc. So let's do the opposite of where we are. We're right now in the west. So let's do ride E, okay? Boom. We get teleported. It looks a little weird because I have debug mode on, But boom, look at that. And now where are we? We are actually in the east. So it doesn't take you to the center, if that makes sense. And that just is a coincidence because of how I scripted it. Basically, like if you say east, you'll either go here or you'll either go here, because these are where the eastern portion starts, and it'll target the closest of that portion. So basically, you can now teleport as long as you're on the world serpent or under it. Like I could now go to the north. And then, boom, I'm in the northern area, right? But let's say I wanted to go to the south. If I want to go right here, I'm going to have to travel like half of 1/8 to get there. Because I can only travel to here or to here, right? But you can still cross a huge distance by doing things this way. And it bypasses any kind of traditional teleport check. So if you have a bunch of metal in your inventory, it doesn't matter. It's not going to care. There's no portals or anything. It's all automatic. You just use this command, ride, and then either north, south, east, west, or northwest, etc. For example, let's do southwest. Boom, teleports our cart. And then teleports us. So here we are. We're now in the Ashlands, right? Boom. And now let's say that you are not on top of the world serpent. Let's say, for example, that you are underneath the world serpent. Like this, for example. Where'd our cart go? It's here somewhere. Ah, there it is. For example, let's say I fell off or whatever, or I found the world serpent, but I am not on a path to teleport to it. Well, it doesn't matter, because as long as you're near the world serpent, you can use its teleportation system. So I can go ride in, and then boom, I ride the world serpent, and I appear on its back with my cart. So essentially, this means that you can teleport anywhere along the rim of the world with any amount of items. Make sense? The catch is you have to go to the edge of the world somewhere else, right? So you can't teleport to the center of the world. You can't teleport somewhere here. For example, if I go over and I'm just in this plains over here, right? Okay, I'm definitely in a plains. But if I use the same command, boom, nothing happens. That was just coincidence, by the way. It just happened to spawn that recoil point at the exact moment. But see, now I do ride in and nothing. It just acts like it's normal. That's because I'm not near the world serpent. So I can already tell that I should edit this a little bit, because for things to be more intuitive for players, one, I'll need to explain how this system works. But two, there needs to be catches for the different outcomes. So here, for example, we need to make a rule that notices all of these ride commands when they're not near the world serpent. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to try and make one really simple little catch right here that handles it. So we're going to go communicates not near serpent, world serpent. Okay, so the player is going to try and do what I just did. They're going to type ride and then the direction, right? So southeast or east. I'm going to cover everything with a wild card. Now, we want to make sure that this happens above everything else. So what I'm actually going to do now is find all of the other stuff And I want to reduce its weight down to 1. That way this one, if it's eligible, will occur. So it's going to have a banned object. And its banned object is going to be the World Serpent piece itself. So that is this thing right here. I can just copy this. I'm lagging out a little bit. I just got to give it a moment. There we go. Bum, bum. So I can just copy this, and I can go like that. And now we want to change this so it's actually any World Serpent segment, not east. And the distance. So these... Oh, yeah. I can just... That's right. I don't need to do this. I'm overcomplicating it. Boom. Nice. All right. This now just needs to communicate with the player. So let's just grab something that has some kind of message. This says welcome to Enigma, right? 1.3.1. 2.0. Nice. All right. Hello, fire. Welcome, welcome. Oh, it didn't tell you? Oh, tragic, tragic. I've been developing. I'm happy. I'm happy. Made a bunch of progress. Enigma Mode's coming along real fast. Let me make... I just lost my train of thought, though. Bum, 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 bum. I got distracted by changing this. That's funny. Okay, I'm looking for the... Sometimes it helps to Alt-Tab. Ah, yeah, I remember now. Okay, Bifrost. This thing. Okay, what I want is... I'm just being lazy, basically. I'm just going to find messaging like this and then just copy it. So now... we have when the player does this and they're not valid, they're not close enough to the edge of the world to use the World Serpent teleport, then they're going to get a message that says, you must get closer to the World Serpent. Okay? Simple. Nothing too fancy. There we go. Gonna add this other thing. Then 16, boom, boom, boom. Nah, we don't need that many. We can get away with like 8. Okay, cool. So now that that's done, now I should be able to do this. And there, it just tells me I'm not close enough to the World Serpent. These are the kind of things that when you're developing, I've learned that are actually really important. You need to think of like every outcome that the player tries to do something and communicate with them about it. Makes sense? So what I was just doing is showing off how this World Serpent works, Fire. So basically, what I showed is we followed the path all the way to the edge of the world, and then when you get to the World Serpent, or when you get to the edge of the first Enigma path that you make, then what it's going to do is spawn the World Serpent. Makes sense? So, from the player's perspective, it's like this. And reset end, right? Reset end. Nice, okay. And then there's this portal, it shows up. You don't necessarily see the World Serpent, because this is actually further back than it. I mean, I guess, realistically, it would be better if it was, like, visually right there, but I just leave the World Serpent head to be like a point of interest that the player can find. I'll probably do something special related to the head of the World Serpent. I'm not sure yet, though. But essentially, you can go to the World Serpent like this, and then you have a cart. Players always have carts, right? So let's put some nonsense in the cart. We got our hammer. And then when you're near the World Serpent, you can teleport anywhere along the World Serpent's edge. So right now we're in the west, right? So let's go ride E. That's going to teleport our cart, and then boom, grab us, and then take us to the other side of the world. Boom, look at that. So this means that essentially all of these, there's these 8 nodes where players can easily move material from one spot to another. But they can't use that in the center of the world. You have to be close to the world serpent itself. So for example, if I'm over here and I'm underground, right? You can see there's a bunch of stuff here. We are, I think we're close enough. Let's see. There we go. Yeah, I can just teleport, right? So as long as you're really close to the edge of the world, you can then get wherever you want. So it's kind of like the inverse of falling off the world. Instead of sailing to the edge of the world and then you have to sail back, you can now go anywhere you want. And, oh, it's making me realize. Interesting. So if someone has a boat and they have some carts. One second. I just realized something really funny. Watch this, watch this, watch this. Watch this. We're gonna go, let's brighten it up a little bit here. We're gonna go, let's get some cart and boat action here. I'm pretty sure if you have a cart, and so if you like sail, right, we're underneath the world serpent, right? So we can just have our cart, and then, I don't know, let's put some stuff in it. Right? Alright, there's some stuff. What was that? I heard something. And now we can just go ride east, and then boom, we teleport up with our cart. Look at that. So now there's a way to remove your cart from the boat, basically. I have a feeling that the ring, the World Serpent ring itself, will end up having a bunch of practical, like, player benefit. I'm feeling really good about it, to be honest. It's going to need some work, obviously. But before, it was just this. And I was like, oh, God. Like, this is a cool idea, but, like, no, it's a horrible experience. Like, running to try and get anywhere this way takes so long, right? So now there's the platform. It gets activated, and you can just teleport to those similar spots, right? So you're always going to go back to, like, a kind of similar area. In that case, I went somewhere else. But it has to do with the fact that, like, if I look really closely, so these are path pieces. Makes sense? These are parts of the World Serpent. And you can see, like, okay, east, it's labeled east, 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 east. And then if you keep scrolling down, eventually, you'll see that it changes to southeast. There we go. Starts to change a little bit. And then now, see, reliably, southeast, 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 southeast. So basically, when you're teleporting, it will move you to the closest node, but, like, you don't actually go to the middle of it, right? So that I don't know how that'll be. I think that's kind of alright. It's going to be a little bit confusing for people, because if they say east, they're going to think they go to the direct east. But it'll actually just take them to the edge of the eastern section, which will probably confuse them. But hey, it is what it is. I'm happy with it. And so this is basically the beginning of starting to be able to build up in the heavens in areas with no instances. You see what I'm getting at? So I think the other angle here is that, like, for example, once a player has progressed in Path of Magic, they've essentially gotten a bunch of coin piles. Here we go. And then they've deposited those coin piles into a bank account. So now we have our 10 coin piles in our bank account. So we can go anywhere and go like coins, and then boom, it withdraws. At the cost of 2 piles, we get 1. Makes sense? So it attrits us a little bit. There we go. So we have our coin pile, see? And so you can summon the coins up on this part, and then you can start to do things like this. Like buy price is 1. This shows me the cost of the floor trading stuff. So let's say I want to buy some wood and some stone. 980 coins and 970 coins. Okay. So we're going to take our coins here, 980. Boom. And we're going to buy. There we go. Now we do the same thing, except instead of 980, it's going to be 970. Do the same thing. Boom. Nice. And now we have 450 wood, 450 stone. Plenty to start building with, right? And then you can just kind of build, you know, up here where there's nothing, well, generally nothing that's going to hurt you. It is actually possible to aggro flying enemies if there's one really close by, so you're not fully safe, but for the most part, you're safe. Can you hear that, by the way? That's the sound of a hen. A tiny, tiny little hen, approximately 7 or 8 centimeters tall, with a lot of opinions and a loud voice. She is by far the most flustered hen. Whew. Anyway, what I was trying to show is that in Enigma already, you can summon building materials, right? And there is this issue, well, from my perspective, an issue, where players later on in Enigma, they accumulate huge quantities of coin. So this way, I'm basically trying to build these areas that the players can use up their vast amounts of coin in like a loop. Makes sense? And so the other idea that I have is to make it so that when you're near the World Serpent and you make a floor trade purchase, that it actually doubles what you buy. So let's say that you would normally get 440 wood. When you buy on the World Serpent, you would get 880 wood. Make sense? This way, players won't feel as bothered by using the coin withdrawal system, because every time you withdraw 999 coins, you lose 999 coins. And that is important for other reasons, because if that doesn't exist, then there's no reason to go to a bank. So it kind of has to be that way. But I can help work back against that by allowing players to double their purchase. You know what I mean? That way they know, like, okay, I can buy on the ground level, but if I buy on the World Serpent level, I get twice as much. This creates a strong incentive to buy on the edge of the world. And this is going to play into the floating islands. So now, let's see. I've demonstrated the World Serpent. I demonstrated that. It's been almost 2 hours, actually, so I'm probably going to be good soon. I can end with the floating islands. So, give me a moment here. I'm going to show you. Bum, 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 bum. Khan made some really cool ones from different biomes. So basically, all right, I want to make sure I have these images up. Let's move this around a little bit. Can take a quick look at these. These are just a couple of them. Other players have submitted a bunch. I think I have like 12 so far. But pretty much, here's what's going to be going on. Basically, the same idea here. This is a low instance area that allows players to build and also gives them utility to travel along the serpent, right? It adds teleporting in a no portal world, so it's highly incentivizing. Or at least I believe so. Once the players figure out how to use it, this will allow them to like have bases close to each node that are just like a teleport away. So you can get the experience of having things in totally different places when they're actually right next to each other in convenience, right? So that, I'm pretty sure, with some tweaking and balancing will be great. But that's not the only thing I want to do. One thing, I'm tired of this glitch. I don't know why this happens in Valheim, but if your character stays too long in the boiling ocean, you get like perma burning. So you're like steaming constantly or on fire constantly. I don't know what causes that, to be honest. It doesn't throw any errors. It just like, it's like it never gets cleared for some reason. But all right, we have these things. That's all good. All good, all good, all good. Okay, so what I'm trying to illustrate is how are these gonna work? Why am I showing you stuff like this? Well, basically, you saw already how there are these islands, right? Like if we go locations, list. These are the islands that Ashenius made. So let's go to a random one. We're going to go to 2400, 40, 40. Here we go. Here's another one of the islands, right? And you can see how well they spawn in totally like empty areas. Like look at this, 240 instances. Really awesome. Looks like there's a bunch of stuff here, but there's not. It's only 240 instances. Good stuff, good stuff. So you can see here, these I like so much that I've added them into Enigma Mode, and I'm going to keep these. But I'm going to use the island part, like basically just this part, and then I'm going to make a customized version that essentially has a ruin. And then when you go into the ruin, you can do something. And then when you do that something, it'll unlock the floating island of that spot. So once you pay the cost, then it's going to roll a type based on the biome and based on some other things. So like right now, for example, let's say we're in the plains. It might pick this one. And so what it's going to do is it's then going to go 2,000 meters up here and have this. Make sense? So it's a very similar idea to the, one second, rock for Heath. There we go. It's a very similar idea to the World Serpent, except more extreme. It quite literally will have players building up with the Yuga tree or the World tree, like right behind them. They're up here and they're so high up in the sky, they're above the clouds, above the ground. You can't even see what's near you. This allows you to build more instances with less performance impact in the surrounding area on the ground. Each sky instance is approximately 1.2 relative to every 2 ground instances. So I've done some tests to see how much instances in the sky out of the loaded zone, well, out of the rendered zone, rather, they're still loaded. I've done some tests to see how much they affect performance. And for every, so to speak, 2 units of performance impact on the ground, there's only 1.2 units of performance impact in the sky. So if you take a laggy base and you put it in the sky, you can be on the ground near that base and you will experience a little bit less lag than if it's on ground level. Make sense? But that's the idea. There's going to be these individual things on the ground, and then basically you'll then be able to teleport up to the fancy area here, and the same kind of logic will apply as to the World Serpent. Here, it'll probably be even bigger. I don't even know, but basically it'll be the same. You'll be able to summon your coins, right? And then whatever you use to build will get you double what it would normally get. Make sense? And then these things have the added thing that they're just like super, super high in the sky. So, like, I mean, I'm fulling at normal speed, but like you full. There we go. That was funny. Just walked right out of it. Am I gonna die? Did I not turn on God mode? Oh no, I did. Okay, cool. So there you go. You'll just fall down back to the island, basically. So in that case, I won't grant slow fall like I do for the World Serpent, because it's so high up. If you try and fall from the island when it's all the way up there, on one hand, you can travel like anywhere you want, but on the other hand, it doesn't really work. Oh, you can't loot these. That's interesting. I'll look into that. I wonder if he did that on purpose. Oh, maybe you're supposed to destroy them. That could be it. I like the islands a lot, to be honest. I know players are probably gonna want to build on them. They're really cool. I wanna set some kind of script up so that, like, when the player comes here, it's like, welcome to Ashenius's island, or islands by Ashenius. I don't know exactly how to do it, but I'll give him some kind of credit. I guess I can end with showing you all the head of the World Serpent. So, for this, I actually need to keep the environment how it is, because the World Serpent's one of those things that's so big, you have to think about, like, how the player will experience it, right? So, let's see if the World Serpent's even visible, because basically the player sees it from on the ground far away, right? So, let's see. Am I even going the right way? One second, I can't see because the chat is covering the thing here. There we go. Alright, we are... No, I'm not going the right way. I'm seeing the classic Mistlands fight, though. Cool. Let's leave them be, though. We want to go... Oh! Oh. Okay, it was right there. I see, alright. So, maybe the World Serpent's not high enough. I'm not sure. Either way. There we go. So... the World Serpent is actually... I tried to keep it lore-friendly. So it turns out that there is a World Serpent that wraps the whole world in like a perfect circle. It's not super lore-relevant because we're in Valheim, which is like limbo. And I think the World Serpent isn't in Valheim. So it doesn't really make sense that it's here. But this is the World Serpent. It's got a cool glowy eye thing, right? So... I'll figure out some way to make it, like, relevant. Like, there's something you get from finding the head, and then, like, maybe it takes you somewhere, or there's something you can do near the head of the World Serpent. But I really like the eyes. They use this special asset. The Carno, he's really good at, like, finding all the, like, random assets and stuff. But this is where the lighting of where it ends determines a lot. Like, I'm in the Mistlands right now, so the lighting, like, it gets rid of the eyes. It's because the player is going to see things from the ground, right? So they just see some huge thing. You can actually see where the eye is because of the shader, right? But you don't actually know what it is. Whereas if you were to look at it with, like, in the middle of an ocean, in the middle of the night, then you would see something like this. You can see how the red is way more noticeable. Like, immediately it draws your attention, right? So ideally, the World Serpent's head actually occurs over the ocean. That way it's like more visible. Because the Mistlands, you'll never see it pretty much. And I did some testing and noticed that that's true for every biome. They all have so many particle effects and, like, environmental stuff that the player won't ever, like, witness this, if that makes sense. So I have to, like, figure out kind of how to bring that out better. But probably just the player having some reason to go into the world serpent will do it. It is kind of funny though how the vegetation actually snaps up, right? It's really funny. Yeah, the vegetation that you pass under actually goes up onto the path. It like clips up. Pretty amusing. But yeah, that's that. I'll figure all that stuff out later. For now, I'm just happy that I had to rework a lot of systems. Basically, in Enigma, the public version of Enigma, when you find a world portal, it then connects to the opposite end's world portal, which sounded nice in theory, but it's not really that useful because the player has to travel so far to get to it that it's just not that useful. And they also have to unlock 2 whole branches of Enigma. And just for reference, one average server group so far of like between 4 and 8 players, they'll complete 50% of all of the Enigma paths. So AKA, they would have basically unlocked it and then quit. So like timing wise, when you think about the features, you have to think a lot about where people normally play Valheim and how they feel and what they do. And that's why I'm pretty sure this rework that makes the meadow starting location away from the center is going to be probably like one of the more influential changes, because Valheim normally puts you through some very linear progression. And even in Enigma mode, when you start in the center of the world, you are in the meadows and you have access to the Black Forest, maybe a mountain, every single time, no matter what seed you play on. That's how it works, because all of the other biomes are based from distance from center. So, you know what? I'm done babbling. Instead, I'm just going to show you. Now, we changed this already, so let me just save the locations in vegetation YAML. Now I know it'll work properly. I'm going to make a new seed, and whoever's listening at the end of this, I'll make you go through this process again of dealing with the seed and seeing the long BepInEx log. But because of the changes that I made to the center of the world, or sorry, to the start temple spawn, I really want to show you how insane a non-central starting meadow is. It gives you access to every biome except the big 3 end biomes, like immediately. And like, I haven't actually done a playthrough on one, but I have a strong gut feeling that that alone will make a big difference into what people experience, if that makes sense. Hey, look at that. You see this number? 6 out of 30? That's exactly what we want. So this was 1 before, which is too close to 0. But now it looks like it's working fine. So let's go. What I want to show you, I can show you something a bit more visually appealing, so to speak. These are all getting placed. That's fine. What I wanted to show is the kinds of things I'm looking for. Let me just go into Hive Mind real quick. I want to show just how nuts some of these starts have been. I have some screenshots here somewhere. Yeah, here we go. Okay, this is the second tribute stop on one of these. So like this may look like it's really far away, but this was just like one tribute stop after the center of the world is like right here. It's just a little bit further north. Let's find a better example though. Where is it? Hey, getting close. I remember this. I remember this. I remember this. Where is it? It's close. There we go. Here it is. Okay, this is the kind of thing I'm talking about. if you stop Central Meadow spawns, every seed basically starts you on something like this. And sometimes like the merchant will be right there or Hilder will be right there. It's so different. Like immediately it feels different because you're confronted by like there's a path to the mountain. I can see the plains off in the distance and the swamp all like right there really reliably. I tried making like I was surprised actually because when in the seed I just showed you that made me increase the distances, that was like the first time that this didn't happen. So that's why I'm pretty confident that just upping that ban distance to ensure that we never spawn in the starting meadow. We always spawn in one of these edge meadows. I'm pretty sure that's going to be all that needs to be done pretty much. But we'll see. We'll see. Yeah, exactly. A different feeling. That's what I'm going for. Meanwhile, I'll take this chance to see if this is all good. Looking perfect. All these numbers are what I want them to be for once. That's always nice. Yeah, sometimes they're just going to be bad seeds. So you have to set your gen up in a way where even if it's a bad seed, it has the important stuff. So whenever you see these placed 0, you have to make sure that that isn't something important. Because if it was like placed 0 Eikthyr boss altars, you're broken. You know what I mean? Like you can't progress. So it's important that you pay attention to that. But it can be kind of time consuming. So you have to just keep redoing new seeds over and over again, and then adjust them each time. But eventually you get a balance, and it all works out, which is basically what's been happening here. I think I've probably redone these like, gosh, how many times? Maybe like 30, 40 times, something like that. That's why it's important to like kind of take notes, because otherwise then you reiterate and then you do like one change. Instead I try and like change like 10 things each time. That way I make some progress. But sometimes you make a mistake and then you add 10 mistakes on top of that mistake. So it doesn't always work. But at this point, scripting's like so quick, to be honest. Like once you get really comfortable with it, like it's more like reading a story. Like every time I look at a new script, like this is a lot. It's complicated, right? It's like 6,000 lines or whatever. But if I just start at the top, then like my brain is used to it, right? So I'm like, okay, this thing does this thing, okay. This does that, okay. This does this, okay. This is longer. So then you start going into like logic following mode, right? So it's like, okay, the player, when they move around and there's a Enigma set, so that means they're like on an Enigma world and they're near the start temple. Oh, this is going to cause problems. Oh no, max Y, never mind. I was thinking of X or Z. This is fine, this is fine. When they're near the start temple and it's not in the sky, I guess, I don't know why I put that there, to be honest. Probably doesn't matter. And there's some certain other things. Then do this. And then when that happens, you're going to make this thing. And when this thing is made, then you're going to do these things. And then you're going to poke that thing. So when this thing gets poked, then you do all this stuff. And you change this. And that activates that other thing. And that's basically what you do. You just keep going down the logic over and over and over again. All right. Here we are. Moment of truth. Let's look real quick. Oh, no. I got to the AoE spam. I'm done. Can't look at that anymore. All right. So we have our Enigma intro. Now what we want to verify is where are we? Where do you think we are? Let's see. There's the world tree going off into the distance. We're relatively close to the center of the world, but we're like in the east, I would say. Well, sorry, relatively close to the center of the world from like, we're like on the equator, if that makes sense. That's what I would guess. But let's actually see. Remove key, no map. Where are we? Explore. Okay, so here we go. Yeah, there we are. We're right at the edge. You see what I'm saying? This is the general spawning area. It's only going to be mountains, black forest, and meadows, right? But we spawned right here. So what do we have? Immediately, if I just go off here, off into the distance, there should be a Hilder, it looks like, right over here. Yeah, she's right there. Right, so you can start much closer to certain vendors. You're gonna start close to Hilder more likely, because Hilder spawns in the meadow itself, whereas Halder spawns in the Black Forest. So we can see that then there's a plains, like, I mean, look at this. Like, a deer could spawn at the start temple and then run into the plains. That's how close it is. So we're immediately confronted with a nearby dangerous biome, right? And then there's a mountain right there. We got some water access. And then if we were to cross over here, right? I gotta fight with Enigma a little bit. If we were to cross over, we already have, look at that, mountain, plains, swamp, boom. And look at all this. You see what I mean? It's like, you get the immediacy of like, oh shit, you can go different places. You know what I mean? And like, I know this is the direction I want to go in. I feel it. It's like I feel it in my bones because it can send people off on a whole different direction. And then it's like, okay, you want to make it to the peaceful meadows? You got to make it there. You know what I mean? Like that means they got to figure out where they are and try and get to the center, right? So someone who knows what they're doing would be able to look at the world tree and they see the trunk and they see how centered this is. So then they know, all right, yeah, we're to the east, right? It almost makes me wonder, maybe it could be even more, to be honest. And now you can also imagine how like, oh, now when we make the paths off, they're all going to end up in different places now. Like, one of the paths is going to go through all of this stuff, right? Like, what is this? Have you ever seen that before? I've never seen a meadow surrounded by a swamp like that. Actually, that's not true. I've seen plains surrounded by swamp. That is funny. What if we spawned there? You know what I mean? Like, there's just some situations that can come up, which is like, huh, that sounds really, really cool. Yeah, exactly, Fire. Exactly. You just figured out why I redid all these systems. So Fire says, so does moving the start temple mess with the path itself? Because originally it spiraled out, right? So, yes, basically. So the path was originally designed with everything at the center. And then it would spiral out in a predictable way where the path ended in the south, ended in the north, ended in the east. It doesn't work like that anymore. Now it starts in the north, but who knows where it's gonna end? It's not gonna end in the north. It's gonna spiral, because they still have the same spiraling rules. So it'll go like this, and it'll actually go to the east, even though it starts labeled north. So I inverted it, and I know this is gonna confuse people, because it used to be they were labeled with the end point, so the north path goes to the north. Now it's the opposite. The north path probably goes to the east, but it starts pointing cardinally perfectly north. So that way when you start, you know, like, okay, that's actually south, that's actually west, that's actually north, and that's actually east. So I think for new players, it's gonna make more sense. But then, like, they're going to realize as they travel, if they're intuitive, oh, this path isn't perfectly straight, you know? And I wonder, like, are they gonna actually realize that, or are they gonna get confused, you know? Are they gonna think that this just eternally goes north? Am I actually just tricking them into getting lost in no map, no portal mode? Maybe. Maybe that's the whole grand plan. Maybe Enigma's just a trap. Who knows? But I'm definitely really happy. Nice. Thank you, Mr. Grey Dwarf. Oh, you took the camera with you. That's adorable. Oh, man. But yeah, that's the idea. And so now I'm wondering, is this a nice starting spot? I think it is. I'm happy with it. I think that change was all I really needed to do, because now it's always going to be near something kind of dangerous. The trick is going to be finding the Eikthyr boss chest. It's going to be harder now. Oh! Huh? That's right. Wait a second. That's right. They can just look at the... Okay, I did not mean to leave this here. It's only here because I can't remove it because it's part of this thing. Alright? So, classic example of like, oh, that's perfect because they're gonna spawn. They need to find the Eikthyr boss chest. I mean, granted, they're not gonna know that. They're gonna think that they're finding Eek to kill him. They're gonna ignore any instructions I give them about how the bosses will kill you, and they're gonna try and kill Eek. So in their heads, they need to find the altar, so they'll at least get a direction to run in, right? So if that's true, how easily can we find an altar just by running in a certain direction? Is that gonna work? Like, is it gonna be hard? Let's see. Because it's pretty important that the Eek altar is relative. Oh, it's right here. Okay, so we seem to get lucky that time. That's not bad at all. So yeah, that's still close enough that then they're gonna come here, they're gonna spawn the boss chest, and then they may try and spawn Eek, but then Eek will kill them. So then they will read the boss chest, and then they can progress normally. Looking good, to be honest. Looking good. Wait, does that mean because we're far away from the center, so also the mountains are going to have the charred ruins? Whoa, look at our instance count. 500? Aw, yeah. That's incredible. I'm still kind of shocked by how the mountains look like they have more things, but they have less instances. Like, this looks like full mountain to you, doesn't it? I mean, I think of mountain. I don't think of removed things, but there's like a third the amount of instances there would normally be. Yeah, this is a passive mountain. Pretty tame. Nothing too crazy. Works out well. Alright, now let's see. Before I go, now that I've babbled a bunch about how excited I am for no central start and how important that is for how much it changes the Valheim experience, to be honest, I bet even if you were just playing vanilla, just that alone makes a significant difference in the experience. But let's see. I actually want to see about... I just want to check another mountain, because I want to make sure that these charred fortresses are still possible, like they're still spawning somewhere. Just got to make sure they're actually spawning in the right place. Hey, there we go. All right. And what are we at? All right, 3,300. That's definitely a lot, but I mean, these things are really cool, and it's still half of a Black Forest or a Meadows Forest. Oh, and there's a Konar Tower here. That's funny. Let's see, out of curiosity, let's see, maybe I'll screw myself. Let's get a task from Konar and just see what the task is, right? So we go up here. All right. We're now up here with Konar. And then to get a new task from Konar, you pay her 999 coins. So debug mode. Boom. Give her coins. All right. And now she's going to be like, here's your task. What is it? Okay. Slay stone golems not inside frost caves 20 times. Any variant? No. Cool. Huh. So there you go. That's a Slayer system. You can imagine how that, like, incentivizes you to go to other places. Ah! There we go. There was a Hilder's Cave as well. That makes the 3,000 instances more acceptable. If there's a dungeon and interesting points of interest, it's probably alright. The thing I want to be careful about is when there's, you know, like, less. Or when there's a lot more in just like a normal area. This is probably alright. Honestly, I'm quite happy with this. I think that there's probably enough instance reduction that players will notice performance increases. This is the area I'm most sketched out by, but it's also my favorite change. I really love the ruins in the winter and the different things you can find, and I don't know, I really like the Ashland's ruins in the mountains, so I'm probably just gonna roll with it, to be honest. Alright, everybody, that's it for this development stream. If you want to learn more about this kind of thing, then just ask some questions, comment on some videos. I've been making more tutorials about just things in general. I could make some more EWP tutorials, maybe if somebody comments, I'll feel incentivized or motivated to do that. I love making EWP tutorials, but they're not something that grows the channel, so I have to, like, make other stuff to grow, even though the thing I really love is EWP, obviously, right? But we'll see. Definitely got loads to work on. I'm really excited about this this project, to be honest. I have a feeling that it's gonna be worth reworking everything. So just so you know, I've been running a persistent server called Path of Magic for a long time, and I've finally decided that it will end, and I will restart a new world with a new world generation. That's gonna happen next year. So basically what I'm doing now is I'm getting all the scripts ready and all the systems ready so that when I do that, it's like a launch of the next version of Enigma Mode as well. So I'm not planning on updating Enigma Mode anytime in the next couple weeks because I want people to get bored of the current version. I want to wait, see what happens, and then sit on the one that I'm working on, continuously updating it and developing it. Because what I've realized is, like, Valheim has a cadence, and as much as I love persistent worlds, and I'm going to continue making persistent worlds, I need to make it fun as well for people who like restarting a new world. I can't just ignore them because that's most people. So the idea is to make it work for everybody, right? I get my persistent world focus, but also people who want to just start a new seed, like, they get a new starting zone every single time, even if they pick the same seed. So it's a different experience. It adds to the variety that you can experience in the Valheim world gen. So I think that's going to be really important, to be honest. But for now, I'm just going to keep developing. I'll keep playing on Path of Magic. I'm not taking it down soon. It's really important for me to, like, just mess around as a player. And I'm not concerned. If there's, like, not a bunch of people playing at the moment, I'm not going to try and bring a bunch of people in or anything. I'm happy with just there being a few people. To be honest, when there's a bunch more players, I get loads and loads and loads and loads of playtesting feedback. And I don't necessarily... I'm not always in a position to handle that, if that makes sense. So, like, right now, I have infinite things. I've got loads of things to work on and develop. So I'm not like, I don't really need a bunch of playtesters at the moment. Does that make sense? But once I focus on other things and I've like gotten all the work out of my system, then I will need more playtesters. But that's probably going to be later, and I'm going to make it like this launch event thing. Yeah, as you said, Fish, persistent players, yeah. That's definitely like I'm not going to just take the world down either, like. So the minimum I'll do is when I start the next world, I will have Path of Magic continue to run for 6 months, but I won't be playing on it. So it'll be more dead, right? I won't be trying to bring YouTube attention to it because I'll be focused on the new Path of Magic, whatever that one is. But I'll give people the world file so they can download it, and I'll do a couple other things so that like people can still access everything from Path of Magic. It's just like I can tell now, I've learned so much about Valheim that I see so clearly all the mistakes I've made, and on Path of Magic, I just made too many mistakes and the world's too old that it's not a good idea to keep trying to maintain it. I need to start again from scratch and apply everything that I've learned, not just with scripting, but like with the world itself. And that's why like I'm convinced now that I'm gonna start a new world. It's because of like seeing all these vegetation changes and the location changes as well. Like it's such a pain to do location changes on a world people are already playing on. Even changing vegetation is iffy because in order to apply the new rules to everything, I would have to reset all the vegetation, which would delete the vegetation pieces that are part of people's builds and bases. And there's a lot of really cool builds on Path of Magic, and I don't want to mess them up. So I think probably what I'm going to do is when I do this, which again, it's still months away, it'll be in like February probably that I open the next server. And I launch like Enigma 2, basically. It'll be like Enigma 2 and the server come out at the same time, and I make content about it. And leading up to that, I'll make a like the end of Path of Magic video, essentially. And that video will be a tour kind of the history of the world, and also showing off some of the buildings that people have made and talking a little bit about how it evolved over time. And then on that YouTube video, anybody will be able to download the world file so they can just like, you know, have Path of Magic themselves in single player. But yeah, that's the idea. That's how my head's currently at. I'm gonna keep working on Enigma Mode, and I'm feeling really confident about it, to be honest. I've seen a lot of shit in my life, and nothing has ever made me feel so at peace and inspired. It's like when I work on this project, I feel so much joy and happiness, but not in like a way that's like, oh, I have to do it, not like that. It's more like existence itself takes energy. But when I'm working on Enigma, it doesn't feel like it takes any energy. It's like I don't know how to put it. I have to stop myself from working on it. That's how much I love doing it. It's like the easiest thing for my consciousness to do is work on this project. It's my path of least resistance. It's what I find myself doing. I have to move myself away from the computer to stop it, right? It's an awesome position to be in, because like I don't have to try to create Enigma more. I just like love working on it and seeing all of people's experiences and their ideas. It just does something to me. Like I can tell this is what I'm meant for. This is what gives me meaning in life, like to work on video game projects that I can test ideas really quickly, that other people can play, and in a way where like we learn how to treat each other better and form a community that's like accepting and more understanding about people. That's like really meaningful. It's something that matters a lot to me. So All right, I'm back. So yeah, that's all the plans and everything. I'm quite excited about it. Hey, welcome to Car. You caught me right at the end. And yeah, it's been a good time, real good time. Thanks so much, by the way, for everyone's support and everything. It's been great, definitely very motivating, and yeah, Fire, you get it. You know what I'm saying? It's like there's something about that, just having something you can progress through. It's like, I don't know. One of the things I used to dislike about video games, like I would play video games and nothing mattered. Like I could play, I don't know, I played like the original RuneScape for a year, and I remember like, I just was doing an agility course one day and I was like, why am I doing this? And I just stopped and I never gave a shit about it again. I only then cared about old school RuneScape because I like studying game design. So I can play games that are older, or I feel like I'm interested in learning a specific feature, if that makes sense. But ultimately, games had a way of not really mattering. Like I just saw how much it didn't do anything for me. Whereas this project, and especially meeting all of you people and interacting with you, like it's brought so much good things into my life, so much meaning, and also so many lessons about game design and psychology and how people work and how to script and like the basic computer skills I need to do all these things. I can look at the fact that I've spent, you know, like a couple thousand hours in Valheim, and I can clearly see the benefit. Like, I don't regret that at all. I clearly see the skills and the people and the interactions and all the content, and it's definitely something good for me. And for me, that's been a big turning point with kind of how I feel about games, because it shows me that like when a game is in the right place at the right time, it can be incredibly healthy. Like it can be a really good thing for people. The problem is that's so rare, you know, maybe that's 1 out of every 1,000 games or something. And for whatever reason, Valheim for us is that game, right? And it's a matter of figuring out like, how do we show all these other people that Valheim is this special, you know, right? And it's like, that's kind of what I'm hoping happens with Enigma, is like, if I just keep working on it, I have this notion that eventually, I don't know, something will happen, some streamers will play it. I don't know, there's just this feeling. Maybe I'm wrong, maybe it'll never happen, but we'll see. It's very fun either way, even if nothing ever comes of it. I mean, I learned so much about game design, so I'm happy. But now I'm babbling. I'm gonna head out. Thanks for watching, everybody.